So is it okay if I do my little interview with you now? Let you finish your lunch.
I don't know how good I am, but
Just like talking.
We're just telling you stories. So.
Like the other day when you and I were talking.
huh?
Yeah.
Like the other day when you and I were talking.
How you and Grandpa first met and what you guys used to do on dates and.
Never was down.
You met at a dance?
What kind of dance?
At the Moose Hall, naturally.
Oh, yeah. Mom, can you help him with the beauty part? Did you go with other friends, or did you just meet him, or did somebody introduce you guys?
Oh, we was in the crowd. I mean, there was my brother and his wife, Frank and Nancy, and it was after when they got back from World War II. Just trying to remember. I think I met him in October. Anyhow, he's up to dance. How long ago?
Yeah, I know. Even just thinking back 10, well, that's more than that. It's almost 20 years now. John. I don't remember some of the stuff.
We haven't known each other too long when we got married.
Yeah. So did he ask you out on another date when you met him then, or?
5 months, I think.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah. So you guys must have really hit it off then, huh?
We'll both like to dance.
Yeah. So how did he ask you to marry him? Did he just pop the question up,
We had taken his folks to the show, and I had a cold. So, we left the show. We went out to have a cup of coffee. And he sort of stated we had to go pick them up from the show and then have a cup of coffee. And when he was having a cup of coffee, then he proposed.
Was it something he was planning on doing, do you think? Or did you kind of just take the opportunity then?
Well, we kind of expecting us. He had other girlfriends too at the time.
Oh, really?
One of my best friends, he'd been dating her.
How long did you date him, Mom?
So it was 4 or 5 months.
Well, about the end of October, I think, so March 26th.
But he asked you to marry him before March, though, didn't he?
Yeah. Back in January. Well, we kind of like set a date, and then I don't know why I picked. Well, I know why I picked the 26th of March for my 40th anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
But me, just being a teenager myself, more or less, thought it'd be neat to get married on their anniversary.
Yeah.
Well, I took the glory away from their day.
Oh.
You should get married.
Where did you guys get married?
Huh?
Where did you get married?
In the Lutheran Church.
Then it was in Mountain.
Mountain.
Yeah. Did you have a reception then afterwards?
Yeah, yeah. It was a candlelight service.
Oh, great.
In the evening. Reception at the Milwaukee Women's Club.
Who made the cake? I wonder who made it.
I'm not sure. Not at the cake.
yeah.
wear white. My suit was rose colored. I'll be so blue, I think. They were like identical to my
Right.
huh?
Your maid of honor.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a honeymoon?
Oh, sure. We went up to stay with my sister's for the weekend of the building.
Oh, yeah.
We had a free pass on the Milwaukee because the passenger train was up on
Oh.
when you work for the Milwaukee, you got a free pass.
So
Just streets out in the country,
Yeah.
all the buildings and
Did you guys move into your own house right away then?
you know, we had an apartment
Oh, perfect.
and it had this big white house, apartments upstairs. There's 2 apartments upstairs. We had a kitchen in the front room and a bedroom. We had to share the bath with the other people.
That must have been fun.
After World War II, there wasn't hardly any housing to be had.
Oh,
All these guys coming home and everybody was getting married.
yeah.
And it must have been, that stairway to me looked like there had to be 12 steps, if not more, to go up to the apartment. And they used to run up those steps, you know. One time she said something about, how did she put that? It was just about like, well, you can't walk up those stairs. She said it was annoying to her to, you know, yeah. She was going to ask us to move or something. And there was no place to be had hardly for, unless you moved in with your folks or something.
Yeah.
No housing.
So how long did you guys live there?
We didn't live there. Oh, probably 4 or 5 months. When we bought our house, there was a big vacant lot between Elsie and Frank, Paul's sister, Elsie and Frank's daughter. There was a big vacant lot between our houses. That was our first house we had. Lester was born in that little house. The bathroom's in the basement of all the place.
Huh. That seems odd.
Yeah.
Have to get the water back up out of the basement.
Just
Well, I don't know.
small little house there. Had a nice big. The basement was all finished off and everything. There's a bedroom down there and a bathroom and place for my cans, for my cans. Upstairs there was a small kitchen. And the stairway going down to the basement. And it had cupboards. And then without a electric, you had to go down on those stairs going down to the basement. And had a small kitchen, and it had a little dining room. All the rooms were small, and the bedroom upstairs wasn't a very big house. So it was ours.
Yeah.
We had a garage. A lot of people didn't have a garage.
Yeah. My first house.
And we're supposed to groceries work too. You could walk to work. Right.
Did you guys have a car?
We didn't have a car. So, 1946. It was summer of 47. Oh. over a year before we got a car. And then when we was going up to Millstone for exams on that Saturday night, we hadn't had that car for 2 or 3 months, I think. And Dad was driving, and we had that car wreck, and my sister died.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you guys were all together in the car? That was your car?
It was just Grandpa and me and my sister and Joe Sawada, Frank's brother, and his brother.
What happened with that?
And they ran off the road, and the car flipped over, and her head got caught between the door frame and the door that sprung open. Of course, there was no seat belts back then or nothing.
Were you guys all okay, or were you all? Were you guys okay, or were you all?
Well, I was in the hospital in Billings. 2 days. I was carrying Lester at the time.
Oh, no.
This happened in August, and he wasn't born until November.
Still, you've gone along with that. Well, I was surprised. Yeah, you were okay, and that you said he was okay.
Yeah, but I don't think I didn't get to go to the funeral.
Even if you were okay, they were probably keeping you under observation.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to remember.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't a good time to. We didn't want to remember things like that.
Yeah, never. So when did you, so you stayed in Miles City for quite a while, because Mom was born in Miles City, wasn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Mom was born in Miles City.
Yeah. So was I.
So you stayed in the same house then? I think I remember her saying she was 6 or 7 or something. Yeah. So you stayed in that same house until you moved? And then you guys moved to Butte?
Yeah.
That must have been hard. You all your family in Miles City. And Grandpa's family was all still in Miles City too?
Mm-hmm.
Grandpa's family was all still in Miles City too?
Yeah. I don't think any have moved away yet. And I think when Evan Rose moved to Aberdeen, they might have moved to Aberdeen before we moved to Butte. Otherwise they were in Miles City, or north of Miles City, out in the country.
So was that a new job or just a transfer when Grandpa had to move to Butte?
That was when Milwaukee shut down, and most of it shut down. Anyway, he got a job with a little railroad between Butte and Anaconda,
Oh, yeah.
and
Was that like a mining railroad then?
he was sort of like a foreman had guys working underneath him. It was just a little. The railroad was only went from Utamacon and the port that followed Ora
All the time.
from the line. Called the VAP, the BAP. Utamacon was. And then he got transferred from there. Well, he did it. He did the job in Deer Lodge and got it.
And that was after Mom had graduated.
Yeah.
This was right after she graduated.
She never lived in Deer Lodge.
I still remember little snippets of that Deer Lodge house. Little, or was it Deer?
Well, first we
Remember
had a
your
little.
Deer Lodge house, or maybe it was your St. Mary's house?
First we had a little house there in Deer Lodge, a little two-story house, and
I might be remembering like St. Mary's house.
that was a real little one. I hated it.
I do remember. Was the St. Mary's one have that upstairs?
Well, we had an upstairs. Well, we had an upstairs in St. Mary's too.
I do remember going
It was
upstairs.
a big house in Deer Lodge that we had, and your dad and mom got married. And there was people in sleeping bags in my laundry room, and I mean, you'd have to get up at night to go to the bathroom. You had to be careful where you were stepping
Well,
because you might step on somebody.
How far was Deer Lodge from you?
About 40 miles.
Oh, I was thinking it was farther than that. Okay. So people were staying with you for the wedding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Who
thing we had a
who
big
all came?
upstairs because
They all came from Miles City, or where were they
most of
from?
them come from Miles City, and my sister. Jim was split up the other day. I know my sister and a couple of her kids stayed there in my house. Frank and Elsie stayed there. But your grandpa and grandma White, they drove over from Butte.
Did you guys have like a barbecue or something there before the wedding, before the rehearsal or something? Did you have a barbecue or something before the rehearsal? Or?
You know, we rented out the fire station down on what we call the flat there in Butte. And we rented out that hall, and then we had the meat cooked at some restaurant or something. We had the reception at this fire hall. Anyway, it was big. They had wedding parties and different occasions that they rent out that hall. But Dad, he couldn't get over that. Of course, they got married in the Catholic Church, so they had to have flowers for
Oh, they couldn't bring
different
the
saints
flowers.
or something.
Oh, really?
You know, Dad wasn't used to that. Well, you have to buy flowers for saints.
Yeah, and they probably had to leave the flowers there for the services and things. Yeah.
It was different.
So when you were in Butte, you lived a couple different places in Butte too, didn't you? Because you lived in town for a while, and then you guys had that place up in Brownsville.
Out in Brownsville. I hated it out.
How did you guys wind up out there? Was some sort of house
Well,
sitting type of thing or
This
something?
the lady that Grandpa knew that he delivered magazines to her, sold her magazines, and Miss happened to mention that she had this place for rents out there in the country. It was a nice enough place, but they had a heat the upstairs with the fireplace down in the front room.
Mm-hmm.
So the heat had to go up the stairs, and the kids live upstairs. I didn't like it. I'm not a country girl anyway. I don't like living out in
Too far out of
the
town.
boondocks.
So you weren't out there for very long yet, for what, like a
No.
year or so?
I'm just trying to think when we moved out there and moved back to town again. I don't think we was out there a whole year.
Did the kids bus into town then? Or
Hmm?
how'd the kids get to school from out there?
Bus.
Bus. Taxi truck. Sorry, his bus.
I gotta be around people. I don't like.
Too far out.
You probably like it out in the country.
Well, but I work in town, so
Yeah.
it's not like I'm isolated out there, so yeah.
Yeah, you just couldn't remember if you ran out of bread.
That we got used to real quick, yeah.
I had a baked bread.
You run out of milk, and either every once in a while, Sandy, our neighbor, and I'll trade sugar or milk or something. The other day she was like, "Do you want apple cider vinegar?" Yeah, you don't just run into town to get a bottle of vinegar. So, yeah.
I've done a lot of my own baking though. Bread and
Yeah.
I couldn't didn't buy any of that stuff hardly at all.
Yeah.
Country living is not for me.
So now, were your parents born here in the States then?
Hmm?
Your parents? Were they born here? Or were they born...
Yeah, my mother was born in Spearfish, South Dakota, I think. I remember right. My dad was born in Minnesota. And my mother's mother was born in the United States, but my grandpa Anderson was born in Norway. Your mom's cousin Nancy up in Alaska, she's doing family history on the Anderson side of the family. And Donna's kind of getting into it too. Her and Nancy exchange. So Nancy sends me stuff, but these cousins, they live up in Canada, I think, or some kind of place. But they're several times removed, whatever you want to say, go way back, never heard of them, didn't know them. But it's going to be a nice book when she gets it all, and the pictures and stuff.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Kind of funny. My dad was in the Navy, and John was in the Navy. Dad wanted John to, when he went in the service, to be in the Army, because that's where he would be then. And John said he wanted to be in the Navy.
So Grandpa was already back from the war when you guys met, then?
Hmm?
Grandpa was already back from the war when you guys met, then?
Yeah.
Did he ever talk about it much? Tell you stories and stuff? Or?
Well, he didn't.
A lot of times the guys don't want to talk about it.
It wasn't a good time.
No. So he was mostly working on the railroads for...
Well, you know, when they were, I think, when Dad was over in Italy, he got to get together with his cousin Bob Leitholt from Mount City. And they got to spend one weekend together when they was over there during the war.
Yeah.
And then Bob got sent someplace else, and Dad went to Africa. And from only time they ever seen each other. But they both got home okay. So.
What Africa? Do you know where in Africa he was?
Hmm?
Do you know where in Africa he was?
I'll be lying if I tried. You know, so many of those countries aren't countries anymore. They've got
That's true. They've all
different
changed.
names, and I half the time I don't know. You read in the paper about these newer countries that they named some of the older ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know what they're talking about. The history books are not the same as they used to be. The names of the different countries and towns and stuff, a lot of them have changed.
They're still changing. Even from when I was in school, a lot of them have changed. So how about when you were a little girl? Were you born in Madison?
No, I was born
No,
down by between Terry and Millbridge on the Milwaukee.
So when did your parents move to Miles City then?
In fact, there isn't even a house there anymore. The one that I was born in, the railroad house. And there was two of them there, and there's neither one there anymore.
So your dad worked for the railroad too then?
Hmm?
Did your dad work for the railroad too then?
When they got married, I think he was working for the Northern Pacific, and then he went to work for Milwaukee. Buster and Edith and me was born in this little, I forget the name of that thing was even.
So it was caretaker's house or something?
There ain't nothing there no more. And then my sister, the one that died, she was born in North Dakota. And Eddie, he was born in Miles City. But I can remember when I wasn't in school yet, but I used to tag along behind Buster and Edith when they had to walk to school, of course. And one day I followed them almost all the way up through school, and it must have been a mile and a half or something. And Mom was waiting at the corral gate when I come back home. I didn't get home until about noon.
Oh no.
Dawdling along, and boy, I was on one side of that gate and she was on the other, and I wasn't going to come through the gate and she wasn't going to climb over it. So we had a Mexican standoff. And as I get it when she got a hold of me.
Oh yeah.
Never followed them to school anymore.
Where's your shoes on, man?
And of all places to learn my ABCs, well,
I'll get this box cardboard today, okay?
I'm getting ahead of myself.
You'll do what?
I'll get my book done.
Anyhow, that had to be down there when we lived out in the country out there. Anyhow, I learned my ABCs in the outhouse at the school out in the country. And that's where I learned my ABCs, was out in the outdoor toilet.
That worked.
We learned our ABCs. And I could not say vinegar. It saved my soul. What do I do? Wine, vinegar, or something like that. I just could not say vinegar. I remember that teacher made me stay in the recess trying to get me to sound out vinegar, you know. And I couldn't say it. I mean, my dad's throat was a little bit of a brogue, Norwegian brogue, and I think that's what
Is that it?
That followed up that.
Hmm.
Vinegar. Of all things, why vinegar? What?
Why would she care that much?
Why would she care about vinegar? You know? Another time, the same girlfriend, we were living in Mildred one time, and that's what it was. And we were going to surprise her mother and my mother to make them
on the stairwell, maybe?
make them a pot of coffee. But Mom, I just baked cookies, so we made the pot of coffee, and Anne says, "Well, I'm sure you put salt in it." She says, "My mother put salt in everything, you know, the flavor." And I said, "I don't think so, but anyhow, we put salt in the coffee."
In the coffee?
Man, we got chewed out because
In the coffee.
we wasted a pot of coffee.
Oh no.
I mean, it was salt.
Is Maddie in first room or something? Jax, just put them on without socks, sweetie. It's okay.
What?
Your shoes, just put them on without socks.
You want me to wear?
No, those are up in your room or medicine. You just put your brown shoes on without socks. It's okay. You can hurt anything. Those are actually shoes you can wear without socks.
These?
Yep, those. It's fine.
Oh, right. I remember at Mexican night somebody with them without socks.
Just this one time, it's okay.
It's good. It's okay for every single time. You can wear bare feet and socks.
Well, it makes your shoes stinky after a while. Oh dear. Oh God. So here's the ham. I kind of missed the first part. Sorry. So you're with your friend and you're making a pot of coffee for your
My mother and
your
her
mom.
mother.
Oh.
They were visiting.
How old were you?
At
do
our
you think?
house, I think it was. Huh?
How old do you think you were?
We were in third grade. Royally chewed out for that one. I bet he could have floated an egg in that. And that's all. Wonder we didn't put pepper in it. We thought we were being real nice to him.
Sure. So is your extended family in Miles City then? Your parents, brothers and sisters, were they in Miles City, or did you ever
Didn't have any relatives in that thing.
did you ever get together with them? Or?
Oh, my dad's two of his brothers worked in coal strip at the coal mine.
Huh?
And his sister and her husband, there's a little railroad station again, railroad house. And between Colstrip and Miles City on the northern Pacific. And his sister and her husband lived. We got to visit with the two brothers and his sister quite often. And my two uncles up there in Colstrip, they both played fiddles or violins.
Oh yeah.
Fiddle music. not parlor music. Good old polkas and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They played for dances.
Did you guys used to get together on holidays and stuff, or was it mostly just immediate family?
Oh, we didn't see them too often. It was quiet. Back then, well, your pay wasn't awfully good, you know, and stuff, and I forget how much gas wasn't all that expensive, but it seemed like
Yeah.
like it was, compared to the wages. But gasoline couldn't have been more than, 15 cents a gallon, 20 cents a gallon.
The cars didn't get great down.
And I don't remember how many gallons it took to
Probably a lot.
go to Cold Strip and back again.
Those older cars go on gas.
What it had to be 16. One way had to be 70 miles one way at once. Something like that.
What were the roads like back then? Were they paved all the way between the towns?
Not when I was a kid. When did they pave that road up from there? From Forsyth to Cold Strip? That had to be after World War II, I think. After Dad and I were married.
Well, a lot of those roads,
They were just gravel.
a lot of those roads got built after the Depression too.
Yeah.
The works projects. and
But,
stuff, too.
I think that was just a gravel road until after World War II.
When did they build the highway? Must have been like early 50s?
I don't know. Of course, we had the highway from Miles City to Forsyth and Billings, But I don't remember when that was paved either. I don't know. But I'm sure from Forsyth to Cold Strip, that was just old gravel road. And then some of those roads back then too, instead of gravel, they used that scoria, that red, pinkish rock stuff. It would chew up your tires. It was sharp. They crushed it, and then they used that more or less like gravel. And put on your tires. And during World War II, too, you couldn't get. You were lucky if you had tires for your car. Usually, a lot of cars were put up on blocks during the war. You couldn't get rubber. My dad rode a bicycle to work. We didn't dare touch his bicycle. That was transportation.
Did you guys have bicycles when you were kids?
Huh?
Did you guys have bicycles when you were kids?
Buster had a bike in high school. What was your old thing? I forget how old I was when I learned how to ride a bike. I guess I was in high school. I sneaked at his bike once in a while. But we walked every place we went.
Yeah.
Everything was rationed during the war.
Yeah, I remember Grandma White talking about the rations and things.
You know, you're only allowed so many, where you get to book the tickets.
Yeah.
And like you could only buy, say, 5 pounds of sugar, would have to last you a month. And Mom did all her own baking. So sometimes the neighbors would go together and pool their tickets and get a bigger bag of sugar or flour or whatever. Pool it together. What else did we have to? Well, meat was another thing that was rationed. You didn't have chicken back today. Chicken is common. I mean, you can have that any day of the week. It used to be Sunday only. You'd have chicken. hamburger you could have any day of the week. A chicken, that was a Sunday.
Well, people have, well, I mean, I know they have like Victory Gardens and stuff. Everybody has their own
Yeah.
gardens, but
My dad had
people
a
raise
big
their own
garden.
chickens and stuff too then? Or
Huh?
do people raise their own chickens and stuff too? Was that exempt from the
No.
rations? Or?
Your meat was rationed. You can only buy so many pounds of this or so many pounds of that.
But what about raising your own? Did they?
Well, you could, Mom had chickens and she had her own eggs.
Yeah.
She wanted fresh eggs.
Yeah.
And we had one chicken that my dad cut a hole in the back door to this chicken. He topped this chicken. You know how a dog or a cat will go in a
Cat door.
his own little door, you know?
Uh-huh.
Well, he topped this hen to come in that floppy little door and into the desk. The desk had a old-fashioned, you pull the top down and to cover up, you got mess in there or something. Anyhow, the doors in the bottom, you cut a hole in one of the doors that you had to open and close on that desk. And the chicken would go in and lay her eggs. Imagine. And boy, us kids, we never touched an egg. We got to eat, eggs, and stuff. We didn't dare go, we didn't gather the eggs like,
Huh.
Because
Too
the
afraid
other kids did.
you would break them, or?
well, she was afraid we'd break them and stuff. That was
That's funny. Yeah, that's one of Jackson's chores. He goes out and when he comes home from school, first thing he does, you have to do his chores. Go get the chicken eggs, feed the dogs, and that's about it. for
the
now.
chicken that laid the eggs in the desk.
Well, that's been, huh. So yeah, he does drop eggs. It's not unusual.
You can't help him. You're just a kid,
You give him a little bucket and stuff, and messing around. And about the other thing, it takes him half an hour to go get a couple of chicken eggs. He does eventually.
I remember one summer, I think I was going into the 4th grade. Anyhow, us older kids went to stay a summer in Minnesota with my grandparents and aunts and uncles down in Minnesota. And I stayed up with one of my uncles and his wife, and I discovered turkey eggs, where the turkeys had laid them out in the, they had windbreaks down there. Minnesota's real flat. I mean, there's nothing, you could see for miles down there. So in the trees and stuff, and the turkeys would lay their eggs in this windbreak shelter of trees, Turkeys are stupid.
Can't
Anyhow,
imagine being more
I
stupid than
discovered
chickens.
these turkey eggs out there, and I broke them open to see what's inside of them, and I see these little half-formed big turkeys in there. So every time I see a turkey, I got to break it open and see how big that little turkey was in there. And my aunt was wondering, where are all the eggs?
Uh-oh.
There were skunks around, but there was no evidence that a skunk had got them or nothing. And she discovered it one time. I was the one.
Uh-oh.
Why did I get it? Why did I get it?
How old were you?
Going into the 4th grade. I didn't realize what I was doing.
Yeah. Kids are just curious.
Because I was a city kid. I wasn't a country kid. I'm destroying all the turkey crops.
So that was your grandparents and your
My uncle.
Did you go by train then? Did you ride the train that time?
Yeah. And that was the first time us girls got permanent.
Oh,
We
yeah.
had a layover. Someplace before we got to it. You know, so I forget. Anyway, Mom took us and got us, girls, Edith and I, each to Furman. On those old fashioned permanent things that you put these rods in your hair and connected them up. They were electric.
Oh, electric. Huh.
I mean, these are old time
Huh.
stuff. We had our first permanent, and I hated that curly hair. My hair was straight, and I didn't like the curly hair. And all these later years, I wished I would have natural curly hair. I wouldn't have to pay for permanents.
Yeah. Just sit there for hours with the solution and stuff. So when you were growing up, did the houses all have electricity and everything by then, or was that still? Did you guys have electricity and everything growing up when you were younger, or was that still fairly?
We lived in North Dakota on a little farm. Dad still worked for the Burlington Northern Railroad, and he also had this little farm down there. And then we had to light the lamps and clean the lamp. They were glass, you know, clean them and stuff. And burned coal and wood for heat and stuff. We didn't have electric lights and stuff until we moved to Mountain City in 1935. I think it was. Lamp light.
That was a long time before they got electricity out to the rural areas.
No, we'd have a
common in towns,
lamp. We had 2 lamps. We had a pretty big table because we all ate meals together all the time. And so we had one lamp at one end of the table and look the other, and you'd sit around and have to do our schoolwork. And if you wanted to read or something, you had to sit at the table and read because the lamplight didn't go very far. How nice electric was. And then we didn't get a phone until we didn't have a phone until Eddie was born in 35. Maybe in the early 40s before we had a phone. And then you had a dial the operator and tell the number that you wanted.
They had the manual from
Ancient times. I like to go out to, when Dad and I first got married, we used to go out to see his sister Pauline lived out in the country.
Oh, yeah.
And had that telephone on the wall, and you had to turn this little handle, go out this here, and you get the operator, and then tell them what we was on the call. And I think Pauline's, if it rang 3 rings, that was Pauline's. And it rang 2, and somebody else down the line was.
Oh, so you had to know what your ring was.
There
And they were
were 3 or
ringtones
4
back then.
3 or 4 households on one
On one line.
You always knew what was going on in somebody else's household.
So,
Listen in. But that was fun. It was fun just to take and turn that little handle to get the operator, you know. That's not to be played with. And we were in our 20s and thought it was fun to dial. What a changes though since
Yeah.
60-some years, you know. Different
Well,
changes
it
and
was
stuff.
rapid era.
Things we didn't have what we got today.
20th century.
Just wondering what the
Huge
future's gonna.
advances, yeah.
What's gonna be after the big oil spill and stuff? What's it gonna be like in 5 or 10 years? Maybe no cool songs left.
Hello? Yeah? Okay, I'm just curious about you. Yep, even in my lifetime, there's been a lot, you
Oh,
know.
God, yeah.
Of course, I think most of what's been in my lifetime hasn't been completely new. It's been more improvements.
Yeah. Way more with all these beats and lights and where's it created?
Yeah, well, I guess probably the biggest thing for my life is the computer.
Well, it's many things. I mean, look up these little sounds that
And
either coming from the computers, they're coming from the TVs,
yeah.
the phones, cell phones.
Hey, oyster.
Okay.
Can I do some bowling?
Hey, Jackson, tell your mom where you went.
Where?
Where we go on the scooter? Did you get my phone?
May I take on that?
Yeah, she is.
She was really trying.